Saw dudes, Warframe 1999 has just been released and I wanted to get in on the action as soon as possible. Today we will cover Cyte-09, one of the most anticipated non-prime Warframe releases. He has been teased for quite some time. It was shown to be a soldier in the first Warframe with an exalted sniper rifle. Was all the waiting worth it? Yeah, it was, because this Warframe is pretty insane and really fun and is a breath of fresh air. Let's get started. Before going to the build, let's cover how to acquire the frame and its abilities. You can acquire Cyte-09 via Emir Beckett, which does require a rank up with the Hex Syndicate. Now for the abilities. Cyte-09's passive is fairly simple. When he kills an enemy by damaging their weak points, he gains 1% crit chance against weak points up to 300%, lasting for the entirety of a mission. This passive does affect his exalted sniper rifle, the Neutralizer. His first ability is Seek. Casting Seek causes Cyte-09 to expend 25 energy to plant an antenna that scans enemies within 60 meters at a 75-degree frontal angle, lasting 35 seconds. Enemies are detected for a short duration, having their silhouette and weak spots highlighted through walls, and receive 75% increased damage to weak spots. While within the antenna's range, Cyte-09's primary and secondary weapons gain 10-meter punch through. A maximum of 3 antennas can be planted. Cyte-09's second ability is Resupply, which causes him to expend 50 energy to instantly reload his currently equipped weapon while deploying 2 ammo packs of a chosen element. Looting the ammo packs will instantly refill the equipped weapon's magazine, receiving an additional instance of 25% damage and guaranteed status effects from the selected element. Sniper rifles receive a 50% buff instead. Reloading will clear the elemental damage bonus. Up to 6 elemental ammo packs may be deployed on the field at once. Evade is his third ability. Casting will cause Cyte-09 to expend 75 energy to jump backward and become invisible for 10 seconds. Weak point kills extend the ability's duration for 2 seconds and restore Cyte-09's health by 100. It does have a cooldown of 60 seconds. Cyte-09's fourth ability is Neutralize, where he pulls out his BFG or Neutralizer Exalted Sniper Rifle. Summoning Neutralizer costs 5 energy. Each primary shot costs 10 energy, and each alt-fire shot costs 20 energy. The primary fire causes weak spot hits to ricochet and seek out 4 other weak points, with each ricochet dealing 20% less damage. The alt-fire lobs a cold grenade that completely freezes enemies and leaves behind a small area that continues to apply cold status for 5 seconds. Ability strength does affect the damage of this weapon. Now let's get to the game loop. Cyte-09 is not a run-and-gun Warframe, but a tactical sniper, so you'll be playing him as such. Start the mission by killing enough enemies to raise your energy reserves. Then, cast your Seek and Resupply abilities, camping behind cover to keep yourself safe. Keep pot-shotting enemies and cast Evade to make it easier to avoid aggro. Once you have enough energy, cast Neutralize and use your Exalted Sniper to clear the battlefield. Be sure to apply the Resupply bonus damage to Neutralizer for the most damage. Rinse and repeat. This Cyte-09 video features 3 main build variants. All the variants can work with the Helminth ability, but work just as well without. I highly suggest using the timestamps to figure out what you like. The first variant is the most basic and new player friendly when compared to the other 2 builds. The aura for all builds today will be Growing Power, though you can swap this out for any aura you want if you would like to invest in an aura forma. Growing Power increases ability strength, which affects all of Cyte-09's abilities. Power Drift follows that, once again increasing ability strength and granting some knockdown resistance, which is helpful for the alt-fire on the Neutralizer. Prime Continuity provides all the duration needed to keep Seek and Evade active for a very long time, thanks to their long base duration. Prime Flow increases their total energy reserves to 655, making Neutralizer spam incredibly easy later on. Stretch and Augur Reach increase ability range, increasing the effective range and punch through of Seek and the ricochet distance for a Neutralizer. Transient Fortitude raises ability strength for all abilities, whereas Precision Intensify only affects Neutralizer. These 2 mods increase the effectiveness of all abilities and drastically increase the damage of said Neutralizer. Streamline decreases the energy cost of all abilities, allowing for easier spam. Rolling Guard acts as a failsafe in case we can't land enough weak spot kills while Evade is active. The second setup is a spitting image of the first, with the key change being Stretch and Streamline being subbed out. This is a more advanced build and is tailored towards dealing damage via heat dots from Heat, Ammo, Resupply, and Neutralizer. Archon Stretch does affect Neutralizer shots if buffed with electric ammo, but not with normal weapons. However, it also works when used with a companion that has the ability to apply electric procs. Archon Vitality doubles the amount of heat procs applied by Neutralizer when buffed by heat ammo, and is amazing for dealing damage over time to groups. It does require some setup and a primer occasionally, but the damage speaks for itself. The Ricochet also preserves the guaranteed status proc, making Heat Shred incredibly reliable. The final variation of the build is my favorite and is the Camper variant. Instead of Prime Continuity, we're going to use Archon Continuity. Archon Vitality is also gone, with Energy Nexus taking its place. Archon Continuity works with a Toxin Ammo buff Neutralizer, causing each shot to also apply a Corrosive proc, reducing armor and increasing damage via Galvanized Shot. This eliminates the need to ever use Corrosive buffing ammo, and grants us access to a potent damage over time option that bypasses shields. With an Emerald Shard, the Toxin Ammo can be on par with Heat Ammo. Energy Nexus regens 3 energy per second, giving us a lot of breathing room on the battlefield. We can pace our shots and make the most of each one. We can also spam Seek, so repositioning is much more forgiving than on the other builds. The extra energy afforded to us also makes it easy to switch ammo types from resupply on the fly, so we can tailor our attack strategy depending on the threats. This is my personal favorite since it's easy to run and has an energy and health contingency. Time to talk about his exalted weapon. The Neutralizer has 4 main builds, though the second and third are just different elemental flavors. I'll run through them quickly so you can get a gist of the modding strategy and rationale. The first build is a Hunter Munition setup and does not have an elemental resupply preference. As such, this build can be used with the default setup, the Heat Shred setup, or the Camper Toxin setup. Galvanized Aptitude adds base damage, scaling with status procs, and Galvanized Chamber adds multi-shot on kill. Critical Delay increases crit chance on the primary fire to 135%, and Vital Sense increases the crit multiplier. Vigilante Fervor increases fire rate, and also grants a chance to increase the critical tier of a critical hit, which can greatly increase a shot's damage. Hunter Munitions kills enemies by the way of 1,000 cuts, which does get transferred via ricochets. Hammer Shot increases crit damage and status chance, and Rifle Elementalist increases the slash proc damage from Hunter Munitions. Of course, if you are planning to go up against a certain faction, swap out Hammer Shot for the appropriate Bane mod. This holds true for all of the builds. The second and third build are meant for heat and toxin ammo respectively. The only change is swapping out Hunter Munitions for Hellfire if you are using Archon Vitality, or Infected Clip if you are using Archon Continuity. The only notable change, stat-wise, is the total damage of each shot, which is increased. Instead of relying on slash to kill targets, you will be using an elemental DOT of your choice. Remember to switch the mods on Cyte-09 accordingly. The final variation is highly experimental and uses the new mod Primary Acuity. With this mod, weak spot hits are granted an additional 350% damage on hit and 350% crit chance. However, multi-shot is locked, meaning we can't use Galvanized Chamber. We will have to switch some mods around to make it replace Galvanized Chamber, but we essentially end up with a modified Hunter Munition setup. From testing, this build is pretty strong, but you are pressured even more to hit your headshots. If you are up to the task, give it a shot. Cyte-09 doesn't need a Helminth ability since his kit is pretty cohesive and doesn't need much help. However, I know some of you are likely annoyed at the 60-second cooldown of Evade and would much rather squash enemies than dance around them. In this case, I would zoom off Evade in favor of either Breach Surge, Ensnare, Pillage, or Roar. Breach Surge offers great crowd control and keeps enemies nice and still, allowing you to land easy headshots with Neutralizer. The ricochet effect from Neutralizer's weak point hits also allows sparks to fly all over the place, making Cyte-09's AoE damage much better. Ensnare is another great choice, trading out the sparks of Breach Surge for better grouping. When enemies are ensnared, they can't move at all and are tightly packed, making for easy multi-kills with punch through alone. This can allow for multiple ricochets to happen simultaneously. Pillage is good for survivability and increasing damage. It can rip off shields and armor, increasing our damage, while also refreshing our shield gate. Since we will lack the invisibility of Evade, this can serve as our panic button, allowing us to survive and reposition. Finally, we have Roar. Roar abandons all forms of basic survivability, instead trading it out for raw damage. Enemies can't kill you if you kill them first. If you enjoy using Toxin, Electric, or Heat from Resupply or Hunter Munitions on Neutralizer, this is a great choice. On a personal note, I don't use any Helminth abilities on my Cyte-09. I like playing him like Big Boss from Metal Gear Solid, but feel free to use what you like. Cyte-09 has several Arcane Options, all of which are extremely effective. My favorites from testing are Arcane Ice Storm, Arcane Rage, Multi-Augmented, and Multi-Efficiency. Arcane Ice Storm is great on Cyte-09 thanks to his Neutralizer alt fire. The grenade has a guaranteed way of freezing enemies, making this a great choice. The additional duration and strength increase damage potential and ease of use for Seek and Evade. Arcane Rage is another great choice for this frame. Since Cyte-09's whole gimmick is headhunting, it makes sense to use something that gets activated by it. Arcane Rage also affects the damage of Neutralizer shots, making it even more deadly. Multi-Augmented is a no-brainer for a frame with an exalted weapon. Since Neutralizer's damage scales off of Cyte-09's ability strength, any extra we can get is a massive boon. It's not too crazy to stack up either, since weak spot hits can easily wipe the floor with adds. Multi-Efficiency is my final recommendation, which can be slotted in place of Arcane Ice Storm. If you are a passive player and prefer to stay hidden using Evade, you shouldn't have your shields down too much. This will allow you to stack more duration using Multi-Efficiency, which is a nice bonus. Arcane Energize isn't really necessary, but if you run into energy issues, you can use it. I tend to run a combo of either Arcane Ice Storm and Multi-Augmented or Arcane Rage and Multi-Augmented. Both are great and performed very well in testing. I'm pretty much a broken record, but I believe Madurai to be the best focus school for Cyte-09. Power Transfer grants a 50% increased casting speed bonus upon switching from the operator. This is great for reducing the summoning time for Neutralizer and placing Seek beacons. Sling Strength grants a 40% ability strength buff to our Warframe after void slinging twice. This is a straightforward damage steroid for Seek, Resupply, and Neutralizer, all of which work together to allow us to hit for millions of damage with each shot. Void Strike and Void Fuel do not affect Neutralizer's damage or ammo efficiency since it's an exalted weapon and acts as an ability. This is unfortunate, but it's fine since there are plenty of other weapons in our arsenal that do get affected by these buffs. Just think of them as extra damage buffs and quality of life changes when going for a self-revival and last stand. Before moving on, I want to mention that the next best focus school is Zenurik. I won't go into it too much, but for newer players, the extra energy provided by Wellspring is amazing. Since Neutralizer only drains energy on each shot, energy over time applications are viable on Cyte-09. The Archon shard loadout for Cyte-09 is a bit wonky since he's so versatile. I use one Tauforge Crimson shard, a Tauforge Emerald shard, a Tauforge Amber shard, and 2 Tauforge Violets. Ability strength is the cornerstone of every Cyte-09 build, so I wanted a little bit more as a cherry on top. The extra strength increases our outgoing damage and affects all of our abilities. The Emerald shard helps with removing armor from enemies. If you are using Archon continuity with the Toxin resupply buff on the Neutralizer, this is great. Even if you aren't, you can use a corrosive primer to make better use of the defense strip and get higher per shot damage on Neutralizer. The Amber shard is near mandatory since the casting speed bonus makes gameplay a lot smoother and easier to tolerate. Finally, the 2 Violets covered any slack in energy management. The energy conversion from health orbs is a massive boon in high-level content where enemies may take a few more shots to kill. You will want to use this with a companion equipped with Synth Deconstruct for the best results. The final section is for weapons. I'll make this short and sweet. For primaries, snipers are Cyte-09's best friend. They get a doubled buff from resupply and fit his playstyle well. The snipers I suggest at the moment are Rubico Prime and Sporothrix. Keep in mind, a new, stronger version of the Sporothrix will be coming soon, so keep an eye out. Secondaries are up to you. I personally like using Epitaph Prime and Mel Prime. Epitaph Prime can be a DPS weapon or a primer, so it's extremely flexible. It also scales very well into level cap and loves the resupply damage buff as well as Seek's weak point multiplier. Mel Prime is the sniper pistol and can easily shred through walls thanks to Seek. The resupply buff is also very welcome. Finally, melees. The only 2 I can suggest are Okina Prime Incarnon and Kratos. Both weapons come with perks that either increase movement speed or parkour speed, making repositioning easier. For a tactical sniper, this is invaluable. Okay everyone, that's it for Cyte-09. As for my thoughts, he's pretty okay. I will say his playstyle is probably going to turn a lot of people away. He plays much slower than your typical run and gun Warframe, and he doesn't adhere to the Slaughterhouse playstyle. I can also see a lot of people complaining about the cooldown on evade, much like how people didn't like Lavos' abilities. That being said, he is fun. My biggest complaint at the moment is that his damage might run into some issues in level cap. That's just me though, since I tend to stress test frames to get a good read on their strength. He is effective in Steel Path, and as you've seen already, he doesn't really care about factions. That's about it though. He's a surgeon, only concerned about precision. I hope this video helped. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any suggestions or thoughts, leave them in the comments. As always, thank you all for watching, and happy farming. Stay safe.